All right, everybody, welcome back to Player Development. We've got a special guest today. He's a dunker from down under. He's a performance coach helping other athletes perform to the best of their abilities. We have Tom Barnes with us today from JumpX.
How's it
Welcome,
going,
Tom.
everyone? I'm Tom from JumpX. As you said, I'm a performance coach, a dunker, I guess part-time powerlifter. Sometimes I like
Yeah,
to catch the lift. But yeah, thank you for having me on. I do appreciate it.
absolutely. Tell us a little bit about what you do at JumpX.
So JumpX, it's kind of in the name. Basically, we make athletes jump higher. So mainly basketball, a little bit of volleyball, but yeah, any athlete who's trying to jump higher, we get them on our program, our coaching
Mhm.
service, and depending on who they are, they all get given different exercise regimes, and at the end of the day, their goal is to jump higher. So that's kind of what we do.
Awesome. Yeah, really cool. Now, one thing that I noticed is that we connected on Instagram and you've been really engaged with our mental health awareness month content. Just some commentary on it, talking through some of the ideas being talked about. What about the mental health stuff resonates with you?
Well, first of all, I think it's like good what you're doing because you don't really see much stuff on that kind of topic online, especially with like the basketball community. It's more just like highlights, dunking highlights, or shooting highlights, whatever. But you don't really get to see the mental health side. So the fact that you're talking about it is refreshing. But like in terms of what resonates with me is because I think like a lot of people, everyone goes through sort of rough times, and the fact that you were willing to talk about it with other athletes is good to see.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had some experience with the mental health side of things as well.
Yeah, like to be honest, I'm 21 right now, and
Hmm.
up until like the start of this year, I never really went through anything super rough. So I never really got to learn like ways of dealing with that. So going through stuff at the start of the year, I've kind of realized just how important mental health is. Not just to be mentally healthy, but it impacts all sort of aspects of your life. You got your like your relationships, you got your actual training, how you interact with other people, just everything. So I think it's really important.
Mm. And you had talked a little bit about how religion can play into that, or faith can play into that.
Mhm.
Talk a little bit about what that looks like for you.
So, long story short, I've always been a religious person, a Christian, Anglican to be like exact. Always growing up, I've been a religious person. My grandparents were actually priests at a church
Mm.
before they retired, so kind of grew up with the church, and obviously going through that stuff earlier in the year, I kind of, in some ways, got closer to religion and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, so one of the topics that we've talked a lot about is athlete mental health. And I think something that can be overlooked sometimes is maybe mental health for coaches. So, you being on the coaching side of things, why is it important for coaches to be able to maintain their mental health?
Well, yeah. So, firstly, yeah, definitely athlete mental health is a big priority. I think, to be honest, like over the past couple of years, it's definitely become more of a like high valued thing. It's
Hmm.
not overlooked as much. But another thing, yeah, as you said, coach mental health is also important because you're managing all these athletes, you're talking to them. If you're not in the right headspace, right? Like if I'm not in the right headspace and I've got things going on that I need to deal with, I can't be giving the best service to them. Um,
Mm.
because yeah, if I'm not in the right headspace, I can't really talk to them, um, so I can't interact with them the way I want to. Because obviously, as part of JumpX, we're not just going to give you a program, right? We provide almost like personal training online. So if I'm like
Mm.
always down, I'm not willing to open up to them. They kind of get a worse service in that sense.
Yeah. So the effect is actually multiplied because you're working with multiple athletes at a time instead of
Hmm.
maybe
Yeah,
like the athlete mental health is 1 to 1, but coach is like maybe one to, whatever ratio of your clients are on a team.
yeah. I think if you're doing more in-person clients, so if you're a PT, you go to a gym, you have an in-person client. I
Mhm.
think it's almost more important, this whole mental health situation because you're literally
Mm,
seeing them in person, eye to eye. And being humans, we're very like intuitive. Like you can tell when someone's off, even if you
mhm,
don't know what it is, but you can just like these little things, these little actions in their behavior, you can tell that they're off. So I think that's another reason why it's quite important.
for sure. Well, let me follow up on that question with asking more specifically, what does you taking care of your mental health look like on a day-to-day basis?
So as I said before, I didn't really have to deal with, I guess, mental
Mhm,
health things that came up until like this year, really. So I never learned how to deal with it. But things I'm doing now, um, obviously, I've learnt how to acknowledge when I'm having, I guess, like a moment, like a weak moment. I'll kind of step away. I'll go do something I enjoy.
mhm,
Another thing I obviously like doing is gym. It kind of can take your mind off things, gives you something
mhm.
to, I guess, strive for. Having a goal is really important. I think it helps you, get up in the morning and have something to strive for and go for. Another thing is talking to people, bro. Like that's so important.
Mm,
Literally, what we're doing right now can almost be like
yeah.
a form of therapy. Just getting
Mhm.
everything out, not letting it bundle in your mind, is a very important thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. And, a phrase that you use that would be probably really scary for athletes to hear is weak moment. That nobody's immune to it, but that is especially scary for athletes to hear that they have any weakness
Yeah,
or
I mean,
feeling of weakness.
no one likes being weak, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think part of being strong is acknowledging when you're weak, and it's okay to be
Hmm.
weak because at the end of the day, you're human, right? So you're not
Yeah.
always going to be at your best. You're not always going to be super happy 100%. But you got to have the lows if you want to have the highs, and the highs will be more
Hmm.
if you've been lower.
Yeah. And for anyone listening, I do want to clarify that we're not saying that having a mental illness is a form of weakness, but that there are just days where, like you said, we're not feeling our best or we're not
Exactly.
feeling 100%. And that feels defeated or that feels like it's weakness when it's just something that happens to everybody. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about what mental health looks like for you and maybe why it's important for coaches and for athletes. So, just kind of as a final word, what do you think that people in the world around sports need to know about mental health?
The Probably the one thing that I would really want to preach is don't be afraid to talk. Really, and I know this has been said so many times, but like it does need to be emphasized. I think there's a lot more people that are going through shit, and they need to just let it out, um, because otherwise it's gonna bundle in your head. It's gonna grow and become a bigger problem. That's kind of what happened to me. I didn't talk about anything. Definitely like the year, like last year before, all any issues I had. There was like little things that came up, but I'd never talk about it, and I just like let it get to me, and it was sometimes would release itself in the form of like anger or frustration. But yeah, now that I can talk about it, it never really gets to that super high point. I deal with it when it's down here, right? So yeah, just dealing with
Mm,
it is definitely an important thing. I'd like to preach to all the athletes.